Tuesday, April the 15th, 2025, number 4,000. That was 2 days ago. It's the most recent one that I've got posted. 4,673. It's called The Perils of Courting Friendship with Heroes. I highly recommend it, no matter what. You learn so much, at least I did. Sure, a pedestal upon which we figuratively place anyone we may think we know or want to know or are absolutely convinced of their deity is bound to be a skewed view, likely to be attacked by jackasses wielding axes. My attempt at relaying that word, jackasses, is about as earnest as it is tongue-in-cheek. Perhaps by suggesting that I know, from daddy issues, provides the limitations of my perspective. But for some of us, it might hit a tone I'd hope appropriate. But it is the most important reason to seek out those in this world we admire, thinking we know enough to know and or perhaps understand, at least on some level, how naive we are to refuse to even doubt the validity that our dear hero could ever be, but whomever they are, which makes you confident in your admiration to become acquainted enough that you might emulate in an absolute manner as is possible. Now that I'm as old as a few heroes of my own were when I began to literally get to know them personally, I say no. In fact, I was fortunate enough to become friends with 2 or 3 of these folks, the gods I grew up worshiping, the folks I admired so much I sometimes wanted to be, the writers whose verses I flipped and tripped so wildly within that I got to where I could practically mimic. Yet, if there is a recurring theme from the times I spent in conversation and camaraderie, and even at times in friendship with this rare crew, it is this. That template of perfection that I so wanted to find in those I chose to idolize, no matter where I might have been in my own life as I got to know the person behind whatever that set of expectations of my own might be, was in all cases a significant distance from the actual person with whom I would actually become acquainted. And the more time I got to spend with each, the further apart reality would grow from that original idealized notion. The more you know of anyone, the closer you get a sense of the foibles you inevitably find annoying or problematic, the more you become aware of an individual's flaws. And sure, that can be pretty devastating, be a pretty devastating revelation at which to arrive. But the funny thing about getting a more well-rounded and clearer idea that kinship that can generally only be had by a significant duration of time spent together, that intimacy, which I've come to know is not only rare to have with anyone, but it's an absolute treasure to have with someone you've come to know from as far back as you have believed them to be an example of the finest, in your opinion, that humanity has to offer. And that fact is enlightening on many levels, but highest among them is in discovering flaws, imperfections, be they small and seemingly insignificant on the whole, or whether they loom so large and problematic to you that it becomes impossible for you to ever think of your hero, even if that person's long left this earth, without being unable to separate that upsetting characteristic from everything else about your hero, turned acquaintance or friend. I'm not sure that it is good enough motivation to seek out in an attempt to become close with anyone you consider so highly from afar, but in my opinion, it is an invaluable thing to experience. It's the people you care about, the ones you love, who are always going to disappoint you the most, for you know them. While such disappointment might bring folks you love and adore back down closer to the ground upon which you yourself tread, that has never for me been so tragic a thing as to minimize my friendship or love with these people, nor does it make me less grateful for what I'll always consider the amazingly good fortune of getting the opportunity, that precious, rare chance to get to know, at whatever personal, intimate level, has always been a goal well worth the effort.